Well, hello, everybody. I hope everybody is enjoying themselves this Friday. The weather's nice where I'm at, nice and pretty, nice breeze, very lovely. I hope the weather is nice where everybody else is. Um, I just want to talk about something that's in my crawl. Y'all know what the crawl is, right? Something that gets under your skin. Well, I do believe Miyagi said it best, but I just want to add a few things to it. Now, we all know what spam is. Spam emails, canned spam, you know. But then there's something called spam in the chat. I don't understand why people feel the need to spam the chat. Okay. Now, I don't particularly address these people because I'm very respectful of content creators' channels. So the best way for me to address this is on my own channel. So some people may get their feelings hurt. Some people may decide they don't like me no more. But you know what? It bothers me because you're bothering other people. You're making other people upset. That's not the reason why we should be in these chats. We shouldn't be causing a ruckus and raising our hands and flailing our hands and being ugly to others, you know. But sometimes people can only take so much before they turn on you, you know. We can't be having all of that. That's not nice. That's not pretty. And that's definitely no way to behave as an adult in someone's channel. We're all adults, so why can't we start acting like adults? You know? You come in now and you say, well, I'll never, ever go back into that chat room again, or I will never go to that place again and say anything. But here we are. You go back in there and you cause a ruckus in there, and then you bring it into the other person's channel's chat. Why do you gotta be like that? Don't be like that, man. That's definitely not an adult thing to do. So if you say you're not going to go back in there, then don't. But if you go back in there, don't be bringing it up in other people's chats. Don't be bringing it up because that just it's not a good look for you. You know. I know some of you have heard that expression. People that talk out both sides of the mouth. They say one thing and then they turn around and they say another thing. Some people let's say two-faced, but we call it talking out both sides of your mouth. Now, if you're going to be upfront and honest, be upfront and honest, you know. But if you're going to sit there and turn around and talk bad, when you just went in somebody's channel and you spoke really nice and highly, and then you turn around and you go back and you say something derogatory, that's not being adult. That's being childish. That's kind of like you're teetering on the line of being a hater. So we don't like that. I don't like that. I sure have seen some other people comment on some other channels that they don't like it either, you know? And then you wonder why you get blocked. Well, why can't I see them? Why can't I see what they're saying? Well, maybe because you act a fool and they blocked you, okay? You know? You don't need to repeat yourself 100 times. You don't need to be putting your little emojis up in there, you know? That's distracting and it's irritating. So we don't want to be distracted and irritated while we're trying to listen to what is being presented on this content creators channel. Now, do we? You know, I read the chat. I sure do. And makes me wonder, do some of you even think about what you're going to type before you put it in there? Probably not. You're just trying to be heard, and that's the wrong way about going about being heard. That's not good. A lot of you is very respectful in there. A lot of you are on all these channels. You know, some channels I won't even go into and do anything in the chat because people in there and they causing a ruckus. They stirring the pot. You say you against being a pot stirrer. You don't like people who stir the pot, but yet here you are in somebody else's channel, and you doing the exact same thing that you say you're against. That's just wrong. That's just very wrong. People who stir the pot, to me, they're irrelevant. They are irrelevant. They hold no place. They hold no, they're not going to engage me, in somebody's channel. So, you know, feel free to start your own channel and express your feelings. You know, it's my opinion. Yeah, I see that. I see when you put that in there. It's just my opinion. Well, tell you what, old hoss, it's your opinion, but it doesn't give you the right to spam the chat. Stop spamming the chat now. You know, if you want people to acknowledge you and be cordial to you, don't be that way. You know, you just can't be that way. And then you wonder why you can't see somebody. Well, did you ever think it's due to your own actions? You know? And another thing that really gets in my craw are people who give medical advice when they do not have a degree in medicine. You know, what works for some person may not work for somebody else. You saying, "Oh well, I take this medication and it's over the counter and it's a good medication." But what if their doctor has never said anything about it and doesn't want them taking it, or has told them, "Look, I don't want you taking this, so don't take it no more," because of your current medication list that you're on? It could have a bad reaction. Okay, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe somebody in there who's just going to throw it in there that, well, this works for me. Don't take this, take that. That's what I take. So you're promoting an over-the-counter medication that could potentially have some health risk for somebody else. Just because it works for you does not mean it's going to work for the next person. So y'all need to keep that in mind too. Be careful of who you take medical advice from. Okay? If it's not straight from your physician, your specialist, I wouldn't take somebody's advice, especially when it comes to my health. Absolutely not. I'd be calling my doctor and saying, "Hey, does this work? Can I take it? Is it going to interfere with my other medications that I'm taking?" So, some of y'all need to back down a little bit on giving medical advice. You know who you are. You know who you are. So, let's not do that. That could cause irreparable harm to somebody's health if you're just in there willy-nilly. And if you want to give medical advice, go on your own dang channel and make it all about giving medical advice. Get your doctrines, get your PhDs, get your medical license, get your state board exams, whatever it is, and do it on your own channel. Create your own medical channel. Don't be popping in people's chats and giving medical advice. That's not cool. Now is it? You open up a whole can of worms. You could make somebody have an allergic reaction to something. Then how would you feel? How would you feel if you caused somebody some harm? All because it worked for you, but maybe it wasn't right for them. That's not a good thing, now is it? No, that's not. You know, A lot of things get in my crawl, and I've let a lot of stuff build up. So forgive me if I get loud and boisterous, because some people, man, they just don't get it. It's almost like you got to present it to them on a daggum plate and draw them little stick figures on the side to go with what you just put on that plate before they get it through their thick head of what is acceptable and appropriate and what is not. Like I said, we're all adults. So let's all start acting like adults. Be respectful. You don't have to go in there and be all kinds of ugly. Mm-mm. Ugly is not a good thing, you know. And if I wanted sound financial advice from somebody, I would definitely pick up the phone or shoot my financial advisor an email and say, hey, is this something that I should be doing? Now, if you don't have a financial advisor, you could do your own guesswork. You can pick through and check out a good financial advisor. You could go on word of mouth. You can go and ask people if they have one. You know, Sometimes it's good, to have a financial advisor, especially if you have a retirement fund or if you're into Bitcoin, um, cryptocurrency. Now, I do have cryptocurrency. I've been buying crypto for years. I ain't touched it. I'm just going to let it sit there and do its thing. I have a little bit of 401k. I'm going to let it sit there and do its thing. I'm not selling nothing, not unless my financial advisor comes out and strictly tells me to do so. You know, that's what I pay him for. I'm not going to take some random person's word for it, especially somebody like that old fellow. What's his name? I ain't spoke about this man in a good minute. Oh, yeah, Mr. Moneybags. Yeah, I wouldn't take any advice from old Moneybags now. Mm-mm, not today. Tomorrow don't look good either. So I don't know what anybody else thinks about this, but I know where I feel about it, and I know how I think about it. You know, just because they say it works for them doesn't mean it works for you. Just because you're trying to make yourself relevant in somebody's chat doesn't mean you need to be spamming the chat. You know, some content creators, they take their time and they acknowledge people in their chat, you know, but they don't have to do it because it's their right as a content creator. They don't have to acknowledge anybody, and you standing in there up and down, jumping up and down like a little child doesn't look good, you know. Act the adult that you are, present yourself in an adult manner, you know. You might gain a little bit more respect, you know. It's not a good look, people. It's not cool. It's not good. And it definitely shows the person's maturity level, you know. Just because you act that way in a random, oh, I don't know, hate group or whatever it is you've been tiptoeing through and traipsing through, just because you act that way there doesn't mean you need to bring that negativity into another content creator's chat now, does it? Because negativity breeds negativity, you know? I like it when I go in people's chats and everybody's cordial and they're lovely and it's inviting. What I don't like is the ones in there causing a ruckus and creating a problem. And then everybody wants to block everybody, and then it just turns into World War III in there. We don't need that. Nah. Y'all relax when you go in there. Don't be spreading any more ugliness than what there already is in the world. You want to do that? Create your own channel and create your own stuff. Why? Why you got to do that? Jeez. Never a day in my life have I saw anybody act that way as I have here of late. Mm-mm. Not nice at all. There's other things I want to touch on. Update on old Doc there. He is awaiting for an appointment with the VSO. And then from there, we'll hopefully Well, hopefully he can get the services provided to him through the VA. Now, the VA is a beast, I guess you could say. You know, short-handed, no doctors. No doctors want to stay. Don't know why. I can only imagine why after what I've seen. And I've only had a small helping of what I've seen and how they are. But he's working on it, and hopefully we can get him where he needs to be. His neighbors and I, we're all stepping in, helping them out and everything. I spent the majority of the day with him yesterday. Took him outside seeing, let him get some sun and some fresh air, cheer him up, tell a few jokes. You know, watch the geese try and attack everybody over there at the pond, the lake. Kids were feeding them. It was a good day. It really was. But what really ruins my day are those pot stirrers. People that talk out to both sides of their mouth. Mm-hmm. Y'all know who they are. So I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. I hope you just take in the beauty of everything, everybody. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, love one another, and I will see everybody in the chats on the regulars. Take care.